It's time for a Cover Price Top 10 list. What is at the top of the list this week? Is it Absolute Batman? Is it Mark Spears? Is it Lobo? Nope, none of the above. We're going to see what got on the top 10, including the top of the list, and why. Up next on this video from Bronzeville Comics. Hello, panelologists. This is Jim from Bronzeville Comics coming to you with another video. Before we get started, please like, comment, subscribe. Check out the description of this video for links to my Instagram, whatnot, eBay store, and email. So I'd like to thank you for joining me on this video. Every week we cover the Cover Price Top 10. Cover Price is an independent third-party comic pricing service. They take information from all across the internet and aggregated not only for sales of graded comic books, but raw comic books as well. And they also look at books that are trending in the aftermarket, the books that have the highest volume of sales, and they put together a top 10 list with 10 runners-up. So we'll go into detail on the top 10. We'll take a quick look at the runners-up. And let's, without any further ado, let's jump into the list at number 10. And coming in at number 10 on the list is Fantastic Four 280. The first appearance of Malice. This is from July of 1985. And this book is going for at about $10, $15. And over $100 in a 9.8. If we look at the 9.8s, we can see that this book, there are only 171 copies on the census, less than half of them. 74 of the 171 are 9.8s. This is, again, a book from 1985. And we can see this was a book that was, you know, a comic boom. There was in January 2022, a one-off, and then, you know, a couple of $200 sales just because. And then it's kind of hovered in the sub $100 range until pretty much the last week. And the last three sales, $135, $159, and $160, all fixed price eBay sales. We've seen it before in video games, mainly with Fortnite, that when a coveted skin debuts for a certain character, we can see a jump on the aftermarket for associated books. This book falls in line as it features the first appearance of Malice, the alter ego of Sue Storm, to pour all of her rage and, well, malice in Marvel Rivals. Malice is an unlockable, sexy skin that has fans in their feels. Still, it's super cheap, prevalent book for new and old fans to scout for. Book you're going to find. Long-term value of this book, I question it. Usually these, you know, the Fortnite stuff, you know, hasn't really caused a huge move in the aftermarket. And we will talk more about Marvel Rivals later in the show. Let's look at number 9 on the list. And it is Mark Spears' Return to the Living Dead from American Mythology Productions just last month. This book, about $10, $15? These have to be pre-sales, $8,700 for a 9.8. Mark Spears, a very popular artist right at this moment. He is maybe the new Dave Stevens. Fans are trying to find anything that he's doing, and this is one of them, from a very small producer, publisher. And I have to imagine this book flew under the radar. So, you know, that's kind of what sometimes happens is by the time we get to issues 2 or 3 of these kinds of books, and we've seen it with things like, you know, 8 Billion Genies or In the Trees Where Nobody Sees, things that just came out of nowhere, and then everybody wanted the book. Long term, what is it going to what is the popularity going to be? Universal Monsters is so last year. Zombies are back, baby. Night of the Living Dead introduces millions to zombie and zombie-centric horror. It's a classic, so when they return, fans are pretty keyed up about it. And when you get the hottest name in the biz right now to do a cover, fans are going to be excited. It's another book coming at the right time as zombies saw a massive surge in popularity thanks to the likes of 28 Days, Weeks films, and of course The Walking Dead a decade ago. So a downturn for a few years, but with the likes of 28 years later on the horizon and general surge in horror love, this book landed at the right time for collectors. Yeah, this is kind of, I guess, based on the George Romero series of films. Night of the Living Day, Dawn of the Dead, and Day of the Dead. Fun fact about Day of the Dead. George Romero was based in Pittsburgh, which is also where a well-known television personality was based for his entire career. And one of the characters was in The Day of the Dead. as an extra. So Mr. Rogers was produced in Pittsburgh. He was a native of Pittsburgh, and that's where he filmed his show. And one of his neighbors in the neighborhood, Chef Brockett, that actor also had a role as a zombie in Day of the Dead. The more you know. Let's go to number 8. Number 8 is Spawn 380. This is the Brett Booth Virgin 1 in 50. You see near mint copies going for $200. That is banana pants. This is the first Spawn book of the year and the highest ratio available propelled this book onto our list. It also serves as a soft conclusion to the recent arc priming Spawn to pivot in a new direction. Of course, Spawn is an aftermarket stalwart, so when pivotal moments occur, fans typically find themselves a copy. Spawn's popular. The one thing that kind of surprises me about this book is that it is a Brett Booth cover, not a Todd McFarlane cover. I would imagine if it was a McFarlane cover, I guess it would go for even more. There is a McFarlane Virgin, black and white Virgin variant of this book that's a 1 in 25 or 1 in 50 that was on the list recently. It could be on the runners up this week. I'm not sure. Again, Spawn collectors know what they want. They want these kind of harder to find variants, and a 1 in 50 does fit that bill. Let's go to number 7 on the list. And here we are, Mark Spears Monsters, number 1, cover A from Keen Spot Entertainment. And I mean, $200+ for a raw. I just got a third print. I got this one, the Telephone Line third print, which is about a cover price buy. This book has just gone totally insane. And we can see right now there are only 21 copies on the census. There are 4 9.9s and 16 9.8s. So nobody would have submitted 25 books in one pre-screen of this because there are only 21 copies on the census. What's the other grade? A 9.6. Imagine having the only 9.6. Anyway, we can see that this at auction almost 2 weeks ago, it went for $382. Then we had a fixed price sale, $375, and then another sale of $500. That is, wow. This book has been insane in the aftermarket. This is the cover we've probably seen the most, as it's the original cover A for issue number 1. It was the book that caught the fandom's attention and led them down the rabbit hole to where we are now. Covers on covers on covers of these fickle monsters we've known all our lives. The resurgence of the horror genre has also helped this book along, but Mark Spears has certainly capitalized on the momentum this book helped develop. One of the things that I find astounding, and I kind of joked about, the new Dave Stevens. One of the things that makes Mark Spears much different than Dave Stevens is he churns out his work. Dave Stevens was a very deliberate artist, didn't do a lot of covers. Mark Spears, not only is he doing all of these covers, he wrote and drew all the interior. And so I was able to get that third print of issue number 1 because I wanted to read this story. It's good. It's a compelling story. I think it does serve the Universal monsters, those characters that they've introduced. It serves them well, and I'm curious to see where it's going to go in the future. But it was a fun read for me. Let me know in the comments below if you have actually read Mark Spears Monsters. There's obviously plenty of opportunity to pick up subsequent prints to read the book, to read the story. Let's go to number 6 on the list, and it is Mark Spears Monsters, issue number 3, the KRS Eastside Comics Comic Mint Jaws Virgin, limited to 450 copies, and it's selling for, this is in pre-release, and selling for $89. The cover A is like a Frankenstein being electrocuted cover, and then cover B is kind of interesting. I think that might have been the one I ordered, Dracula and the Brides. Ilsa and cover C. The covers D and E are homages to the 25th anniversary, and there's a cover that does a flip of those two. There's this one. There's the fighter, and then this is an interesting one, the Bride, double-sided, limited to 600. So yeah, there's they're just going to be covers of this coming out. I'm not sure how many issues this is supposed to run. Issue number 4 is already in pre-release, but if you want to check out the story, and all of the covers are kind of interesting, I would say you could pick up a subsequent print of any of these. But nothing's going to approach this book because, again, it caught people by surprise, and it's in issue number 1. I would be interested in looking at the print count of issue number 1 compared to, let's say, the subsequent issues 2, 3, and 4. And this one, Mark Spears does again. We can't go a week without seeing his work on this list, and that's okay. I mean, this guy, I don't know how quick he works. When the fire is hot, strike it, and Spears is pumping out work like a madman. He's like a Stephen King of comic books right now. Once again, the layering of this book is unreal. Of course, the Jaws homage is nice, as it's one of the most critically acclaimed and beloved movies of all time. It's limited and is just such a striking piece of art that appeals to numerous classifications of collectors. Let's look at number 5. And, okay, we're back to vintage. Omega Men, number 3, the first appearance of Lobo in that ridiculous costume he wears in his first appearance. It's not referred to as Lobo in that one, but this is from 1983, DC Comics, and this is was a direct-only book that was printed on Baxter paper, which is whiter and heavier cardstock. So the high-grade copies are going for close to $100, 9/8, about $350. And we can take a look. There are nearly 10,000 copies on the census. A third of them are 9/8, and about another almost third of them are 9/6. Not a difficult book to get in high grade. And this book has been jumping up and down ever since the boom. But interestingly, not unlike a lot of other DC books, it didn't go that crazy during the boom, right? It went up to 350, 300, right? And then it came back down in 22, back to about close to 250. Then it went back up with the rumors that Jason Momoa was going to portray Lobo, and the announcement of James Gunn and Peter Safran heading the DCU and rolling out their slate. And then it was on a lot of hot lists. It came down, and now, it was down close to 250 again a few months ago, and boom, it spiked up. And we could see all the most recent sales over 300, topping out at a $400 sale on a fixed price eBay. Well, there was a 373 auction recently, a 365 auction. So again, this book is, pretty robust. I mean, you compare that right now, let's say 2019, right? Which is kind of where in 2019, this was a $160 book. It maybe come to close or right around 250 at its height. And we're past that right now. So the book's overperforming because of the movie news. There are copies out there. So it is not an impossible book to find by any means. This was a popular title at the time. DC had put a lot of stock into this title early on, having rolled them out of Teen Titans. Okay, let's go to Jason Momoa will appear as Lobo in Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. We can all breathe a collective sigh because it's finally happening. The communal theorizing can end, and the aftermarket scouring has begun. The book was hot for months before finally calming down, only to come roaring back. As the first appearance of Lobo, collectors typically covet this book, but there has been a slight shift in the last year as collectors turn their attention to the previous entry. Let's go to that previous entry, number 4 on the list, and it's Lobo number 1, his first mini-series. And this is more the Lobo that I imagine we're going to see, the Lobo that is the character that was portrayed in DC Comics for the last 35 years. This is from 1990. It was a limited series, and the fair market value is $170. I did sell a 9/8 for $170 recently. I do have a newsstand going off in a pre-screen. I mean, near mint copies up to $48, $70. Wow, that's crazy. Let's see if the newsstand has any recent sales in a 9/8, just out of curiosity. Nope, last was $400 in November. So that would be more, I imagine. So again, similar track. Again, pre-boom, this is what, geez, $50, $60 book. And then Momoa rumors, boom, up to $265. It hasn't quite hit that high that it did get during the boom. And it's not, there are only 1,500 copies on the census. This is a book that is plentiful out there. I just don't think a lot of people submitted it. It is a little difficult to get in a 9/8 because it does have that black cover, but you got to be careful because what sometimes look like spine ticks on this cover are actually part of the artwork. The, where the spaces in his hair over here. So anyway, while a ton of fans are after the first appearance of Lobo, thanks to the casting announcement of Jason Momoa taking the role, a large subset is after this book as well. It's more readily available, and some view it as a more definitive Lobo outing. It marks his first solo series and his origin, which fans are after. As the kids say these days, the book passes the vibe check, and collectors are searching far and wide for a copy. I have some. I've been actually grabbing this book over the last couple of years. And it actually, even with the Momoa news, there was still plenty to find. So let's go to number 3 on the list. And it is, now we're going to kind of go through these. This is Amazing Spider-Man 65, the NetEase Marvel Rivals cover. It's going for about, what, $15? $25? It's a book that came out last week. And I'm going to kind of go through all of them. And number 2 is All New Venom number 2, the Marvel Rivals edition. And that book is selling for about the same, $20, $25 or so. And Magic number 1, the NetEase Marvel Rivals edition. Again, these are all variant covers of these books that have that Marvel Rivals, I guess, character design on them. So let's kind of deal with all 3 of these together. Marvel Rivals has been a boon for the industry in general, much like we saw with the Fortnite crossover comics, but on a grander scale. Along with cool skins, fans get information about the heroes they are playing at home. I think when you look at the character, it'll tell you about their first appearance and stuff. Before it debuted, some viewer viewed the whole situation as a gimmick, mainly because Marvel had tried video game tie-ins numerous times, and they never really gained the traction that Rivals has. They commissioned numerous covers to celebrate the game as part of the promotion. That includes this book featuring Magic front and center with her Marvel Rivals style, also noted as her class specialty, Duelist, and essentially DPS, Damage Dealer. Magic currently ranks in the top 10 for favorite duelists she used when gaming, but on this list, she's number 1. Another Marvel Rivals cover to add to our list. Of course, Marvel had to highlight various classes in their game, and who better to rep the Vanguard tank class than Venom? You got me. We could think of a few, but this is marketing, baby. Venom has been all over lately with numerous titles, movies, crossover events, and more. He's a hot commodity, so fans gravitate toward covers like this. And number 3 on the list, Spider-Man is one of the most popular comic book characters ever. He's a bankable star, and Marvel knew what they were doing when they opted to release this book. Another Marvel Rivals variant for the masses, so seeing it on this list isn't a surprise, despite the learning curve attributed to his playing style. He's the most recognizable character in the entire game, and an easy one for fans to latch onto. Also, in the Duelist class, Spider-Man ranks in the top 5, just 1 spot ahead of Magic. I'm not really familiar with the video game. I don't own any of the platforms that it's available on, so I can't even kind of say, ooh, let's try it. So, yep, that's what you got. That is the top 10. Let's take a look at the runners-up. Number 11, Mark Spears' Monsters. Number 2, Cover C, Creature in the Black Lagoon. This is the one I grabbed. Number 12, Captain America 230. I'm seeing the movie poster that this is kind of inspired all over the place for Brave New World. So that, I think, keeps pushing this forward. It's a really cool cover, too. It always had some value, just as a classic cover. Number 13, Absolute Batman drops out of the list. Number 14, The Bride in Mark Spears' Monsters number 3. This is limited to 600, and it's double-sided. Number 15, which was on the list last week, Time Slide number 1, the Rob Liefeld Hidden Gem 1 in 50 variant. Number 16, Crypto is there, and Superman number 680 with the Alex Ross cover. Number 17, Ultimate Universe 1 year in number 1, the spoiler variant with the first cover appearance of Ultimate Wolverine. Number 18, if you need another spot on the list, just throw Spawn 1 in there. Number 19, similar to that Captain America cover, here we have Hulk number 1, the first cover appearance of Red Hulk. He's not really in the story. His first appearance is in issue 2. And in number 20, Batman Long Halloween number 0. So most of these runners-up we've seen on the top 10 previously. So that's going to do it for the top 10 cover price comic books for this week. Let me know what you think below. Have you read Mark Spears' Monsters? Are you interested in reading the story? Are you collecting it, trying to get covers that you like? Let me know. And I did kind of appreciate reading the story because I wanted to make sure it wasn't like another do you poo kind of situation. The variant covers are kind of fun. I'm trying to pick one per book to get that I like. So yeah, let me know if you've been reading it. In the meantime, you can take a look at a couple of my other videos here. And this is Jim saying until next time, enjoy your comics.